And welcome inside the Backstage Pass, a brand new week and a brand new week of shows. We were out yesterday, of course, but back this week with some great shows to finish it out before the Thanksgiving holidays here on the Backstage Pass, presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, out there at Honky Tonk, Texas, and winding out the year. Only about, I don't know, what, 15, 16 shows left, and we're done for 2023. Couple of little Texas two-step we're going to do today here on the show. And pleased to welcome in, as she just put out a brand new single called Roadblocks across all the digital platforms. My show favorite here, one of them, no doubt about it. Carolyn Dawn Johnson here to the broadcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me again.
Well, it's good to be back with you too. Well, I tell you what, you've been busy. We've all busy out there too. But let's dive right into the deep end of the pool. No doubt about this. Roadblocks comes out. Huge response from the fans so far in country music and loving this.
Yes.
Tell us all about this project and how this got started.
Thank you. It's been a while since I've had anything new, and so much stuff in life had happened, lots of roadblocks, lots of things, and then to top all that off, it was that period of time that we all went through that was a little tough, and I remember just thinking, we're not guaranteed another day,
Mm-hmm.
so in my heart, I am just aching and dying to make some more music. So it's time. So I ventured into a new project. It's a whole album. It's 12 songs, and the first song is Roadblocks. And it's really just like a jam, like a rocket jam that I wrote. It's kind of like a personal anthem, I guess you could say, in a way that's like amidst any kind of struggles that anybody might have, where you're just kind of going, you know what? There are roadblocks, and I'm gonna just have to go through them, and I'm gonna do it. And so that's really, it's just an empowering, inspiring, fun anthem. And if you don't want to be empowered or inspired, you just want to turn it up and crank it, that's fine too. You don't even need to think about anything.
I love it too. And that's what I've done too. Is like I said, we all go through those, and like I said, just plow those through every day with everything that goes on in our daily life. And I know sometimes for people, stress takes over, which is a very dominant factor. But you listen to a song like this, and it is inspiring because you can turn it up, and it's a feel good tune, and it makes you go. You can put your mind to anything in life, at least the way I feel about it, and get through those barriers. And the next
Yes.
opportunity could be waiting on the other side, right?
That's right. Usually, I mean, I've got a series of roadblock stories that are about to come out on my social media that I would love other people to do the same thing at some point. It's just of a lot of my friends in the business and some friends that aren't even in the business, just talking about little moments or roadblocks in their life and how they got through them or what they did about them. And oh my gosh, they're so inspiring because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's had something. And so I can't wait to debut a lot of those to the audience out there and just hopefully continue to inspire people, because we've all been through a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying stuff, but everybody has their own things, but also just in general, we kind of
Mm-hmm.
all have. And so it's just fun to know. I think it's good to know that other people have been through things too, which is one of the greatest things about music, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can sing things and then other people relate and feel like they're being heard. And that's how I always was growing up.
Kind of froze up there for a second. We'll get her back here in just a little bit here on the Backstage Pass with Carolyn Dawn Johnson, talking about the latest single, Roadblocks, out there too. There she is, back on the show here
Oh,
too as well.
oh
It
my
does a little
goodness.
freeze up. It's all good
I
there.
don't know what happened there, but
No
what I was going to
problem.
say is like music in
Mm-hmm.
general is one of those things that when you hear something, you go, oh, that singer
Mm-hmm.
knows what I'm talking about. That singer knows what I've been through. And that's what I love about music in general. And hopefully this song will also make people feel like, yeah, I feel heard here. I've had some roadblocks in my life too. So
As you look back on your career and we talk about this, talk about just the songwriting and the things that you've done. I mean, not just Complicated, which was a huge hit for you, but looking back over your body of work, all the great catalog of songs you've written for other artists out there too. I guess, look back on something like that. Do you ever have that time to, I guess, number one, reflect and then also be proud of your accomplishments?
oh, thank you so much. Well, I am very honored whenever anybody records something that I've written. So I do look back on some of those things. One of the nice big things was Shelly Wright recorded Single White Female, took it to the top. Jody Messina, Downtime. I've had a a lot of cuts by other people that weren't necessarily giant hits. But they were representatives who they were. And I know how hard it is to choose a song for my own albums, that when it's like, when you're saying these 11 or 12 songs are who I am at this moment in time and that I want to sing, that's so important. And Piper, can you stop, please? My dog is now making noise, trying to get out.
Noises.
I'm sorry about that, but
You're good.
the songwriting, I've got some exciting news about songwriting.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to tell you this. On November 10th, there's a really wonderful album coming out by a guy that has really long hair and a long beard. Who do you think that is?
I think that might be Chris Stapleton.
Yeah. So I have a song on there that I wrote with him several years ago, and I am so ecstatic. But so I'm like going, wow, Chris has, hundreds and hundreds of songs. And I'm giddy with the fact that he reached back into his catalog and pulled out some things. And one of them is a song that we wrote. So talking about the body of work that I've had, thank you for even bringing the songwriting aspect up about it. Because if you just keep writing and that's what you do, I mean, I've always done it. They find homes at some point.
Well, and this song did find a home back in 2001. I can't remember. Just imagine we're time to say 22 years. And I talk about one like Complicated that really struck country radio. And so many people can resonate with that about life in general and things that kind of go on there too. We'll get Carolyn back here on the screen there too in just a second too. But that's just a great song. And I know it was off one of your best albums out there too that I loved so much, which was Room with a View, which came out in 2001 here. I tell you what, we'll take a quick time out here, get a word in for Bangtail Whiskey, reconnect with Miss Carolyn Dawn Johnson here on the Backstage Pass, and, of course, a word in from our friends at Honky Tonk Texas, having a little technical difficulties. We'll get it fixed here on the Backstage Pass. You can find us out there across all the socials.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
Of course,
there we are.
HighTideCountry.net. We'll take a quick time out. Carolyn Dawn Johnson coming right back here on the show. Stay tuned for a lot more right now. A word from our friends at Bangtail Whiskey. Hang tight.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And that's what you do in broadcasting. So technical difficulties, you just go to break and you just wing it. Get out there too, because your phone, I know, is busy today. But happy Halloween to everybody out there too as well, because I know Halloween is a busy night tonight. I'm going to take my daughter trick-or-treating, and of course I know you got some plans too. Back here with Carolyn Dawn Johnson on the show. I was just talking about this too, as we're presented by our friends at Bangtail Whiskey, and of course out there at honkytonktexas.us. Room with a View. It came out, and of course the big song Complicated from 2001. I look back, and I'm sure you say this a lot, 22 years, and I look back and I said, just the huge impact it made at country radio, your first, just top hit. When you look back and reflect on that, what kind of comes to mind, and, of course, the writing of that beautiful song?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, Complicated obviously was a life-changing song for me. So many people related to it, and it was a song that was written really from personal experience. My co-writer, Shay, and I had both had, two friends. She had a friend, I had a friend, and we would talk about them every time we would get together to write. We didn't know if we should let them know how we felt or not. And you just kind of tumble over the line of friendship and feel like you feel a little bit more than that. And so eventually we were like, we just need to write about this. And so it was we pulled so many lines out of the air of the conversation. And it came together really beautifully because the music and the lyrics happened at the same time. It was like I started singing, "It's so complicated," which is kind of like this angsty melody, and I'm so frustrated. And those kind of songs, those magical songs, they don't drop out of the sky every single day. So I knew it was special. I played it at the Bluebird debuted it at the Bluebird, and I had a bunch of people ask me if I was giving that song away. If there was some A&R people there that were looking for some of their artists. And I knew it was like something for me. Like sometimes you just know, I don't think I can give that one away. It means so much to me. And so I didn't let that one go. I held it in my pocket, even though I did not have a record deal yet. And I didn't know if I'd ever get a record deal. But it was important to me. And it's, I still get people that come up to me and talk about that song. I've had actually a lot of different stories told to me about that song that are nothing to do with the way I envisioned it. Once again, when you talk about music, it's like people can interpret it the way they want. Once I write the song and I sing it and I put it out there, it now becomes yours. And then it's whatever anybody wants to think of it. So it's been a blessing all of these years. I love to sing it. I never get tired of singing it.
We talked about songwriting a little bit there, but the collaborations I'm seeing now, of course, the CMA Awards is coming up November 8th again, and it's cool to see the fall one, and of course, the spring one too as well. But collaborations from the 50th anniversary of CMA Fest this past summer with Luke Combs and, of course, Vince Gill, and you look at an Avril Lavigne and Miranda Lambert, proud girl from Lindale, Texas, no doubt. I mean, looking back at all these great accomplishments and these great collaborations in the industry, you've had your fair share of them too. I mean, Steve Wariner, I believe What If I Said was a big hit for Steve and writing behind that. Talk about just, I guess, kind of a two-parter, how important collaborations are to the industry. And then also, two heads are better than one, putting great songwriters like yourself around those collaborations.
Well, collaborations are fun and you're not always doing everything by yourself. But I mean, I say that jokingly. It just really is a lot of fun to collaborate with people. So another fun story is that I did a record in 2006 and I have this song on there. It wasn't a single or anything like that. It wasn't a big hit, but it's called There's Nothing Good About Lonely. And I had Blake Shelton sing on it. And that was the first person, I was the first person that he ever sang with back then. He had never sung a harmony vocal. And we had so much fun doing that. He was like, "Are you sure you want me to sing on this? I don't sing harmony." Well, now he's done a lot of really, really cool things as well. But just having your friends sing and play with you is pretty amazing.
I love it too. And that's what makes the business so special out there, seeing more of those collaborations.
There are more of them. You're right. It seems like a lot of people are getting together. And, in our world with the whole social media thing and everything, which is different from when I first started, right? So we're in a different world. People can do so many more things these days. I'm learning things that I did not know were going to even be possible.
It's true. And I'm clicking some other buttons every day on some app or whatever else out there too, to make the show better, make the show grow, artistry grow, music, things like that. And it's amazing too. I want to go back to a song that I loved on Room with a View to me, which was Love Is Always Worth the Ache. And I think that was one of my favorite ones off of there. I mean, obviously complicated to get to. And you had Georgia on there too. Just Another Girl, if I remember that record correctly too. Body of work on that record too, because it wasn't just complicated. I think there were so many great songs like the ones I mentioned there that give everybody a little bit of a taste of who you were as an artist back then too, as well, and who you are today.
Yeah, I think those songs stand the test of time. So thank you very much. There's so many different subjects on there that really don't get old, I guess you could say. And I'm really proud of them. Some of those things have come back around to me that I'm like, wow, this is really relevant to me again, very much so right now in my life. So I think that I couldn't have predicted that when I made that record. It was just, that was my initial project. I remember when I went into my record company, I had already cut like 8 songs and we were about to cut the last 4, I believe it was. And they had given me free rein. And I went to my president and I said, we're about to cut the last few songs of the record and you haven't really said, hey, you have to do this, you have to do that. Is there anything in particular that you want me to record to make sure that I'm, making you happy? And he said, CDJ, there was always 3 songs I wanted you to put on that record. You've already cut 2 of them. I know you're putting the 3rd one on this last batch, so do whatever you want. I mean, that's not really normal to have a record company just go, we're going to let you just be yourself. We trust you. Go ahead. So I could have never known that people would relate to those songs. I love Love Is Always Worth the Ache. Thank you so much for bringing up that song, because it's all about, hey, you go through the bumps in the road, and when you find the right one or something great, it's worth those bumps in the road.
It is,
because you'd have to go through them in order to get to the good stuff.
A little bit of that, and of course the new single "Roadblocks" across all the digital platforms out there too. Just came out October 20th, so make sure you guys check it out if you've not already. From the beautiful and talented Carolyn Dawn Johnson here on the Backstage Pass. We're coming back. A quick time out, a word from our friends at Bangtail Whiskey, and of course out there at honkytonktexas.us. More with Carolyn Dawn. We'll talk Halloween and then some here on the Backstage Pass. Get into maybe some hobbies talk, you never know, and the plans for Thanksgiving and the holidays just around the corner. You can find us at hightidecountry.net, and of course out there powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com. Coming back here on the show, more with CDJ here in a flash. Hang tight.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here with Carolyn Dawn Johnson on the Backstage Pass. Our thanks to our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey, and of course out there at Honky Tonk Texas. You can find us at hightidecountry.net, and of course out there powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com, soon to be FM Country Radio, headed into 2024 with our friends in New Mexico and Colorado at KKTC Pure 99.9 Country, and a couple other stations out there too as well. All about the growth, just as an artist, we do here as a podcast here on the show here. So I got to ask you about plans for Halloween. What plans, if any? Because I know a lot. We were talking before the show, a lot of good things out there too at the same time. And this is one of my favorite holidays, right?
It is so fun. Yeah, my son is going to a party with a bunch of his friends, and they're going to go trick-or-treating. So I'm not going to be with him tonight. Usually I'm with both of them. I have a son and a daughter, and my daughter is going trick-or-treating with some friends, but I'm going with that group of people. So I'm going to be walking around, and it's pretty cold here in Nashville today. We went from 80 degrees yesterday to 32, 31 this morning. I don't know what happened. We literally had the most beautiful weekend. I don't know if it's happening all over or what, but we got a cold snap. So tonight I'm going to be bundling up for Halloween. I guess by the time we hear this, it'll be what had happened. But yeah, we're going to be walking around the neighborhoods as warm as possible. And I'm going to watch my kids get a bunch of candy that I'll probably steal.
I got the hard time with the wife last night too. She goes, "Why are you stealing from your 3-year-old?" I went, "It's just the peanut M&Ms. I like those, and it's the other little candy I sneak in there." No, she likes the other type of M&Ms. Don't do that. But anyway, I said she's going to get more tonight. It's Halloween night, of course, and she had some at the trunk or treat. We took her to her school the other day, so don't worry, honey. She's going to have all the candy and probably more than she should eat, because we always got to check the candy. You know how it is. Make sure it's all, no wrappers have been torn and stuff like that too, which I do trust the people giving away the candy out there. Especially, I'll tell you, there's a lot of things, trunk or treats, churches doing things. And you spoke of that cold snap. It's affecting Texas down here big time too. It dropped pretty. We woke up this morning at like 54, 53. No, I'm sorry. Wow. It was actually in the 40s. It was 46 this morning.
Wow.
And so this is I turned my heat on for the first time last night in Texas, by the way. So
oh my goodness. I know, and you have that smell that comes into the house when the heat gets turned on. Isn't it so crazy? It's like, okay, yeah, the house is not burning down. We're just turning the heat on.
Just a little bit now, and kept it on all day too. Then it heats back up to 60, and tonight it'll get back down into the 40s. So you got to figure out which way you're going to use your system, no doubt too, with your heating and air conditioning. Hey, take me back to the album. We talk a lot about this because I love this album so much. Room with a View, specifically that title track and where it came from. A little bit of that backstory of that writing of that song and the idea behind that one.
Sure. That song really is a dedication to my brother. Now, my brother passed away. He was quite young, and I wrote this poem called "The Room with the View" for his
Hmm.
funeral. And it had a lot more stanzas to it, and it was yeah, it was for his funeral. And then I ended up bringing that into the room with a guy named Chuck Jones. I wasn't planning on necessarily doing that, but Chuck is just a wonderful writer and friend, and he has this giant heart. And I got talking about it, and I said, I'd really like to turn this into a song, but I'm almost like too close to it. I don't know what I would want to get rid of out of this whole thing, and I just wanted to honor him. And I wasn't even thinking about the album. It was just something that I had to get out in a song. So we ended up with me crying and a lot of emotional stuff. We ended up writing this song, and then when it was time to make the album, I wanted to really dedicate the album in some way to him. So I put it on there,
Hmm.
but then it ended up being the right title for the whole album, because I looked at it as this CD, this piece of music is my room with my view. It's my point of view. So even though the song is about my brother's room in a hospital, fifth floor corner room, I should
Hmm.
say, and him being there, and then up in heaven when he's not with us anymore, this ended up being like sort of the general view of what that piece of body of work of music was.
Well, you've always put out some amazing songs, and I love the other album too. And maybe it doesn't get talked about a lot too, but I'm gonna talk about it here because again, it's my show and I can do what I want. Thanks. Love Rules was fantastic. I mean, the first 4 songs really on there came out in 2010, and I'm just now entering like my radio career, even back years before that too. And then I get a chance to spin some of these great tunes, such as "Let Me Introduce Myself" and the title track itself too, the whole thing, and a whole lot of great songs there. Body of work collectively on that album. You had to be pleased with everything on that record too. Talk about some highlights from it, and just those top 4 songs for me. It did it for me as a country music fan.
Oh, thank you so much. I just love how thoughtful you are. Thank you for these questions. Um, yeah, that body of work was, I hadn't made a record in a few years, and I was just kind of picking things that really meant a lot to me. And there was no discriminatory things about it. It was like, you know what, I love this song so much. I want that one, even if that doesn't necessarily match this, or because sometimes I'm looking at this whole journey, in the album,
Hmm.
but everything seemed to fit in there because the title was called Love Rules. And it was like, through all this stuff,
Hmm.
love rules. Love will make things all right. And I do love the song on there, the whole thing. It's a awesome song. There's a song on there called Reach You
Hmm.
that I wrote about a friend of mine who struggled with addiction terribly. And it was just, I always felt like I was trying to reach her. And that song means a lot to me on that record too. There's some Moroccan stuff on there. The song "Let Me Introduce Myself" that you talked about
Yeah.
is the first song in that record, because I was like, hey, I'm reintroducing myself to
Hmm.
my audience, even though it's not like I had gone away. I just, sometimes you're in and out doing things. I had a couple sweet little babies, and sometimes I'm behind the scenes. Sometimes I'm singing with Martina.
Hmm.
I spent a couple years on the road with Miranda, singing
Hmm.
backgrounds and playing guitar for her, and just not out there all the time, out in front doing my own thing. But now I'm going back out in front.
Well, that's where you deserve to be, no doubt about it, too. You're one of the
Thank
best
you.
in the business, the pioneers of country music. She paved the way for all the ladies doing it today. And of course, people that'll be coming right behind them, too, as well. And it's people like yourself and our next guest coming up here in a little bit, Susie Bogus, on the show, that will just ladies that Grammy winners, ACM award winners, and nominees, and CMAs, and everything out there, too, that the body of work does speak for itself. All right, let me ask you about plans for the holidays, because it's coming up. I know for me, travel and on the run. I'm going to be going nuts between Texas, Arizona, and back, and Houston, and all these different towns down here too, to get
Wow.
things done for the Thanksgiving holidays. What are the plans in the Johnson household, and of course with Christmas coming up around the corner too as well? What are some of those plans?
Christmas is coming up. Yeah, Christmas I'll be spending a bunch of time with my kids. I think we're going to be doing some skiing. I know my daughter has to take some driver training class during some of that time as well. I'll be cooking. I'm going to be cooking again at Thanksgiving. I'm having a bunch of friends over, and I'm doing the turkey because that's what I do very, very well. So I'm not planning on traveling for Thanksgiving, but Christmas we're going to try to have a little bit of an escape.
I like that, which is good out there too, and we all need that too to close out 2023. Now, the timeline, we mentioned roadblocks there too. The timeline for this next project too. You guys are looking at some point in 2024.
Yeah, 2024. If I have my way, it'll be out by February, but it could be March. We'll see. But there's a bunch of stuff on there, a bunch of songs, and we'll release a couple things since the world is a little different these days. We can, put roadblocks out and then throw another song out there and maybe another one and then put the record out. So even I was looking at, as we were talking about Chris Stapleton, he's got his third song out now on the record, and then he'll release the album November 10th. So that's kind of the idea of what we're going to do as well.
I look forward to that too. All right. So some shows I'm getting into now, The Voice and some other things with that, plus, just some good TV out there right now. And of course, the old classic Halloween movies that come on AMC, the Fear Fest and thing. But for you, what's kind of making you tick right now when it comes to series or television? What are you getting into?
Oh my goodness. That's a hard question for me because I don't watch a lot of TV.
Okay. That's all. Or the last
thing.
Isn't
that crazy?
Hey, I'll try to when I get a chance, but it's very rare. You're right, with a 3-year-old running around.
I feel like when my friends are asking me and they're like, okay, so did you check out this? Did you check out that? I'm like, guys, I'm the lamest human being on the planet. I don't even know what you're talking about. There have been some shows that I did start getting into. I didn't necessarily finish them, but there's this show that I think it's based out of Canada. It's called Schitt's Creek. So I did start watching some of that not that long ago, and I've had some great laughs over that. But otherwise, I can't think off the top of my head something that I'm watching right now.
Anything with Yellowstone or?
You know what? I haven't seen all the Yellowstone stuff yet, but that is on my list. I actually bought it and it's sitting there for me to do. So I'm behind on that too. I did, through the pandemic, the kids and I got into a show called Heartland. So we've watched all of their episodes. It's very family friendly. And I think they're on their 17th season now. And that's the only season we haven't watched. So we got heavily into that. So that's all about horses too. It's a different kind of Yellowstone, completely different. And so Yellowstone is on my priority list. I'm thinking that I'm going to have to just hunker down on the bus and do like binge watching.
Yeah. Oh, we all need to catch up on a little bit of that to-do list too, which is out there too. Hey, what was the first song you ever sang live on stage?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I remember doing when I was really are you talking really, really young?
Yeah, just the first time you ever took a stage, and it could be a cover too.
Well, let me say this. The first time I was ever in a contest singing, I went with a friend and we sang Why Not Me by the Judds. And let me tell you a really cool story about that. Honest to goodness truth. We won this contest, went to the Calgary Stampede, didn't win there. We were like a duo. And then 36 years later, I was out on the road with Wynonna and Martina, and it was like the Judds' final tour. Naomi was supposed to be on it, and then she ended up not being on it. And but Wynonna did the tour anyway and brought out different guests each weekend to sing Naomi's parts. And the very last show, Wynonna and Martina surprised me and brought me up for the encore, which was Why Not Me. And Wynonna turned to me and said, "You want the first verse?" I mean, I found out 2 songs beforehand that I was going out there. And it was Tanya Tucker, Brandy Carlisle, Wynonna, Martina, and me. Wynonna turns to me and says, "You want the first verse?" And I nodded like, yes. And so I sang the first verse. We sang it all together, said goodbye to everybody. It was the very, very last show of the whole thing. And I went out to the bus and I started crying after because I was like, how does this happen 36 years later?
Wow.
Wow. It's crazy. So That's one that or another song that I sang, it would be around the same time. And I don't know which one came before the other one when it came to like actually performing, but I did Forever Never Amen by Randy Travis.
One of my favorite things, and I'll tell you this, I got to do, and I know you and I can't wait to have you back because you're always one of my favorite people to talk to in the industry. But a couple of years ago during COVID, get a call and actually got Randy Travis on an interview with me,
Wow.
with his wife at the same time, just after things had happened to, unfortunate, those situations that occurred. But what he could do on an interview was more than acceptable given the situation, and was
Wow.
like one of those things, I'll take it with me forever. It was one of those things to say that you talk to a legend and get to talk to him about all those great songs, Forever and Ever Amen to, and memories. And that's what we create in the entertainment industry. I love it so much. And
That's
you're
so true.
you are a pioneer in women's country. And like I said, I know
Thank
the
you.
big award shows are coming up here in a few weeks for the Country Music Awards and, of course, the ACM Awards in the spring. And I just wanted to tell people again, Roadblocks is across all those digital platforms. The first of a set of songs coming out, new albums expected maybe February or March of 2024. The one, the only, superior, beautiful, and talented Carolyn Dawn Johnson here on the Backstage Pass. Hey, thanks so much for coming on always to my program here. Happy holidays to you and your family, and let's do this again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And anytime, I appreciate you having me. You have a great holiday season. And till next time.
Till next time. And I'll tell Susie Bogus to get in touch with you. She'll be coming up next here on the Backstage Pass. She's got a brand new single out too. We'll be talking about that and then some here on the show, presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, Honky Tonk Texas. We're powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com, and you can check us out there at hightidecountry.net and soon to be on some FM stations in New Mexico and Colorado, a part of LMNOC broadcasting, and they play Carolyn's music out there too. So be sure and check them out with the hits from the 90s and early 2000s and the hits from today out there. KKTC 99.9, which is pure country, serving the parts of northern New Mexico and Pueblo and southern Colorado. We'll see you guys back here in a little bit. Susie Bogus coming up here on the Backstage Pass. And to Carolyn again, and to everybody out there again, happy Halloween and be safe. And of course, happy holidays to you guys as well. From all of us here at the Backstage Pass, take care.